The story begins in a small village in Ukraine, where we are shown a small house. A couple lives happily in this house. The man's name is Nikola, and his wife's name is Nastya. Nastya was a drawing artist and carved wood into various statues. Nikola is a teacher and teaches math at a nearby school. He is a very good teacher, and all the children are very happy with him, except for one Ivan. Ivan was a very rude boy. He would harass his teacher, Nikola, in class every day. Ivan belonged to a wealthy family. Since Nikola was a poor man, Ivan would often make fun of Nikola's looks and clothes. He hoped that Nikola would get fed up with his rudeness and attack him, so that he could complain and get Nikola expelled from school. However, Nikola was a very calm person. Nikola was unaffected by his comments and continued with his life. Because Nikola's home lacked any electronics, such as a television, he was unable to keep up with the world's news. One day, while at school, he heard news on TV that Russia had attacked Ukraine, killing many soldiers and occupying large areas of Ukraine. When Nikola returned home that evening, he learned that his wife was pregnant. He was overjoyed. As he was about to become a father, the two celebrated this joy together. The next day, Nikola said goodbye to his wife and set off on his bicycle to teach the children at school. But while on the way, he saw two soldiers standing, lighting cigarettes, wearing a different uniform. The uniform was not at all typical of Ukrainian soldiers, and he found it strange. But Nikola thought that perhaps the government had changed the soldiers' uniforms, so Nikola paid no attention to it and quickly reached his school. But when he entered the school, he saw that the entire school was empty. Not a single child had come to school. This made him feel uneasy. Then, he saw the news on TV, which reported that Russian soldiers had entered Ukraine to occupy it, and now he realized that the soldiers he had seen on the road were actually Russian. This made him worried about his wife, who was home alone. He immediately got on his bicycle and ran home, but it was too late. When Nikolai arrived home, he saw two soldiers brutally beating his wife. Nikolai tried to save her, but they beat him too. Nikolai pleaded with them, "Please don't beat my wife, she's pregnant." But the soldiers ignored him and continued beating them both. A short while later, a Russian soldier searched Nikolai's house and, finding nothing of value inside, set it on fire and began to leave. Seeing her house burning, Nastya became furious and picked up a stone, attacking the Russian soldiers. One of the soldiers opened fire, killing Nastya instantly. Nikolai was devastated by the sight of his wife dying. He went to his wife, held her in his arms, and burst into tears. After a few hours, two Ukrainian soldiers approached Nikola. Seeing Nikola's wife dead, they were deeply saddened. They placed a hand on Nikola's shoulder and urged him not to give up. They then began digging a grave for Nikola's wife. After digging one, they told Nikola to bury her there. Nikola was devastated by his wife's death. He was now completely alone. The Russian soldiers had not only killed his wife, but also burned down Nikola's unborn child and his home. So, he was consumed by a fire of revenge, determined to kill the Russian soldier who had shot his wife. The only way to avenge him was to join the Ukrainian soldiers. That's why he pleaded with the two soldiers, "Please take me with you. I also want to join the Ukrainian army." The two soldiers then agreed to Nikola's request, take him in the car, and take him to the military base. Before leaving, Nikola takes a small statue made by his wife to protect it. When they arrive at the military base, their superior, seeing Nikola, becomes angry with the two soldiers and refuses to admit him into the army, suspecting him of being a spy. The superior gathers detailed information about Nikola from the two soldiers, and Nikola tells him the full story of how Russian soldiers brutally killed his wife, and they burned down my house. So, now I have no reason to live. He convinces his superior that he wants to kill the Russian soldier and liberate this country. Hearing this, the superior agrees to recruit Nikola into the Ukrainian army, and his training begins the next day. Since Nikola was a commoner, he found the training quite difficult. He had studied math all his life and had no knowledge of guns. When all the soldiers were assembling the guns, Nikola was much slower than them, and he was the last to assemble one. Seeing this, the officer thought Nikola would never be a good soldier, but he refused to give up and remained focused on his training. One night during training, Nikola asked his superior not to call him by his name because his code name was Raven. Everyone laughed at him, and the superior told him that code names aren't easily obtained. For this, a soldier has to perform a great feat for the country. Nikola didn't take this negatively and began to work harder. Even at night, when all the soldiers were asleep, Nikola would practice his learning. One day, the senior told all the soldiers that they were short on snipers and needed to increase their numbers to be able to face the Russians. The senior asked everyone, "How many of you want to become a sniper?" Hearing this, some people stood up, and Nikola was among them, as he also wanted to become one. Seeing Nikola, all the soldiers laughed. His senior told him, "You're not ready to be a sniper yet. You can't even assemble and disassemble a gun properly, so becoming a sniper is out of the question." Nikola replied, "I can become a good sniper. I just need one chance to prove myself." Hearing this, the senior tells Nikola, "Okay, here you go. You have to assemble this gun in just 20 seconds. To prove himself, Nikola blindfolds himself, quickly disassembles and reassembles the gun, taking only 18 seconds. Everyone is astonished by Nikola's agility. Those who had previously laughed at him now begin to applaud him. The senior is also impressed with Nikola, and seeing his abilities, he is also included in sniper training. During training, Nikola is given an older model gun, while the others are given new, modern weapons. Seeing this, Nikola also demands modern weapons. The senior tells him, if you want that gun, you'll have to prove yourself. Now, Nikola has no other option, so he takes whatever he can and leaves. During training, the senior tells everyone that no matter what the situation, a sniper never moves an inch from his position and remains focused on his target. To practice this, the senior fires near everyone, and any sniper who moves from his position is eliminated from the training. However, when Nikola's turn comes, he doesn't move at all and holds his target, thus passing the training. In the next training, the sniper is shown his target only once, and then his eyes are covered with a blackboard. During this, he has to shoot his target by guessing. Some of the other soldiers pass this test. However, when Nikola's turn comes, he misses his aim slightly, and Nikola fails the test because the gun he was carrying was very old and making it very difficult to hit it accurately. But everyone knew that if Nikola had been given a new gun, he would have hit the target perfectly. The next training was even more challenging for the snipers, as they had to shoot their targets in the light of flares, even in the dark of night. The senior released the flare, and everyone took aim, but none could hit the target. Everyone else had already fired. Now, only Nikola didn't fire. He realized that aiming directly in the light of the flare wasn't possible. So, when the senior released the flare, instead of firing, he estimated the distance to his target based on the flare's light, and using his mathematical knowledge, made a perfect shot. His senior and the other soldiers were astonished. No one had ever completed this task before. Only Nikola had done it. The senior was very impressed with Nikola and gave him his desired code name, Raven. Days passed, and finally, the day came when the results of his training were to be announced. The colonel saluted Nikolai and informed him that he had passed the test. A few days later, the colonel came to Nikolai and told him to pack his belongings, as they were on a mission. News arrived that some Russian soldiers had captured a checkpoint, and this is where the real story began. Nikolai's team quickly arrived at the location, took aim, and were about to kill the Russian soldiers when they spotted a vehicle in the distance, heading towards the checkpoint, prompting the colonel to warn everyone not to shoot. Russian soldiers stopped the vehicle and asked those inside to exit. They checked their passports and searched the entire vehicle. When everything was clear, the soldiers allowed them to leave, but kept their passports. When they demanded their passports back, the soldiers beat them severely. Seeing this, the colonel ordered his soldiers to open fire. In one swift blow, all the snipers eliminated their targets, thus completing their first mission. After the mission, when everyone returned to base, Nikola noticed that many of his comrades were missing. He was perplexed, wondering where they had gone. When he asked where the rest of his comrades were, he was told that they had been sent on another mission. The next day, Nikola received news that many of his comrades had been killed during the mission, all by a Russian sniper. The sniper's name was Siri, and he was one of Russia's most skilled snipers. A few days passed, and Nikola set off with his comrades on their next mission. Upon reaching the location, they laid mines all around and took up their positions. Shortly after, Russian soldiers arrived, accompanied by Ivan. Ivan, the same boy who used to bully Nikola at school, had joined the Russian army. However, when the colonel gives the order to shoot, Nikola panics, not wanting to kill his student, but Nikola sets aside his emotions and shoots the landmine, causing a powerful explosion that kills Ivan and all the Russian soldiers. After everything was under control, the colonel angrily asked Nikola, "What were you thinking when I gave the order to shoot?" To which Nikola replied, "One of those Russian soldiers was my student. I didn't want to kill him." The colonel explained to Nikola that he shouldn't be saddened by Ivan's death, as Ivan wasn't his student, but his enemy. Joining the Russian army was Ivan's own decision, so he shouldn't feel bad for him. After completing the mission, they all returned to their base camp. The colonel had complete trust in Nikola. He spent most of his time with Nikola. The colonel showed Nikola his family photo and told him that his family consisted of 3 members. His 2 daughters were unaware that their father was a soldier. "I've told them I'm a businessman, and my wife hasn't told the children I'm a soldier until today." Here, Nikola also told the colonel his entire story about how the Russian soldiers brutally killed his wife. Nikola became very emotional during this time, but the colonel calmed him down. The next morning, they all left for their next mission. This mission was very important because they had received information that a group of Russian soldiers would be passing through that route. The colonel and Nikola quickly reached the location and took up their positions. After a while, they saw 2 Russian soldiers waiting for the rest of their team. Nikola noticed that one of the soldiers was the one who had shot his wife and was aiming right at Nikola. Nikola asked for permission to fire, but the colonel refused. Nikola was now seething with anger because the soldier standing in front of him had killed his wife, but Nikola couldn't control his emotions and fired. The bullet killed the soldier instantly. But the worst part was that the Russian soldiers had discovered their location. The colonel asked Nikola, "What have you done?" But the worst part was that Russia's most dangerous sniper, Siri, had also taken up his position and had now discovered their location. The colonel knew Siri was nearby, so he began searching for her. But before he could locate her, Siri delivered a headshot, killing the colonel instantly. Now Nikola realized the grave mistake he had made. His mistake had cost the colonel his life. Nikola realized that the Russians had discovered their location. Meanwhile, the Russian soldiers began firing and bombing Nikola heavily. Seeing the situation worsening, Nikola decided to retreat. He picked up the colonel's body and began retreating from his position. He quickly crossed enemy lines and headed straight to his base. Nikola was deeply saddened by the colonel's death and blamed himself for it. He vowed to kill Siri and avenge the colonel's death. Soon, Nikola received news of 2 Russian snipers and immediately set out on his next mission. He reached his location, took aim, and quickly killed the sniper. However, while killing the other sniper, Nikola was shot in the arm by another sniper. He refused to give up and managed to kill the other sniper as well. Now, being seriously injured, he retreated to a secret base and began resting his body. Meanwhile, he received a call from an army major who informed him that they had located the sniper who had killed the colonel. Nikola then returned to his base, where the major began telling everyone about the sniper. The major explained that the sniper's name was Siri and that he was Russia's best sniper. His aim had never been wrong. Siri had killed 6 of Ukraine's most capable snipers. Therefore, we shouldn't underestimate him. The major explained that Siri first kills Ukrainian soldiers and then uploads videos of the killings to social media to make Ukrainian soldiers surrender. He explains that Siri is a sniper who usually doesn't change his position and instead sits at a specific location to hunt down his enemies. They then form 2 teams to approach Siri's location. The plan was to attack the Russian soldiers from the front, and while they were engaged in this attack, the second team would attack them from behind. Seizing this opportunity, Mela would enter the building and kill Siri. After the entire plan was complete, they all set out for the location. Upon reaching the location, all the snipers took up their positions and took aim. Meanwhile, Mela also stealthily entered the building, where he spotted 2 Russian soldiers engaged in conversation. Nikola killed them both without delay and proceeded further into the building. Following the plan, he signaled his team, and upon receiving the signal, the snipers stationed there killed all the soldiers. Meanwhile, Siri noticed that none of his comrades were reporting to him. He sensed something was amiss, so he went to the roof of the building, where a Russian sniper was already present. But when he reached the top, he saw the sniper dead. This made him panicked, and Siri realized that Ukrainian soldiers had surrounded him from all sides. He contacted his base for backup, but it would take another 10 minutes for the backup team to reach him. Hearing this, he quickly returned to his position and began searching for the Ukrainian soldiers. But then he noticed a small statuette on the table in front of him. Before Siri could think anything, Mela attacked him and stabbed him to death. However, the scuffle alerted another sniper in the building. Before he could react, Mela threw a grenade near him, killing this last sniper. A short while later, the backup team Siri had called also reached the building, but he was unaware that Siri was now dead. So when he called Siri, Nikola answered the call and told him that they were all going to die. The gunfire sent the Russian soldiers into a panic, and they all jumped out of the truck, but they were unaware that Ukrainian snipers were lying in wait for them. The Ukrainian soldiers opened fire, killing each Russian one by one. A few days after this mission, Nikola visited his wife's grave, realizing that he had fulfilled the promise he had made to her. He had killed all those who had killed his wife and the colonel. There, Nikola vowed to serve his country until his last breath. With that, he left, and the film ends.